gonna swim, bike, and run in the Kona sun. We're gonna swim, bike, and run in the Kona sun 2021.
Thank you, Poncho Man. Welcome everybody to Breakfast with Bob, not quite Kona edition. My name is Bob Babbitt. We are brought to you by Challenge North America, Credo Tri, You Can, Hoka One Velo Fix, Normatec Canyon Bikes, and of course, our Challenge Athletes Foundation. We just sent out 3,038 grants, totaling $5.1 million to keep challenged athletes in the game of life through sport. Our next guest, he has a new book out. Her name is Helle Frederiksen. The book is called The Pursuit of Victory. I read it this week and it is phenomenal. Helle joins us. Helle, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Bob? Nice to speak with you.
I am wonderful. And normally we would have been doing this actually in Kona. It would have been fun to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if it will be a Kona this year. We truly hope so. It looks much better out there in the world with what we're dealing with the pandemic, I think.
So Helle, when you look back at your career, going from Olympian in 2012 and silver medalist in ITU long distance world champs in 17, gold medal in 2018, and 355.50 for the 70.3 distance, 10 times 70.3 champion. You did it all. When you look back at your career, are you satisfied?
Yep, I am super satisfied and I'm super content. And that was also the feeling that I was getting towards the end of my career. And that was also one of the reasons why I decided that I have done it well, I have done it all, and I have achieved my dreams. And I really, really feel happy and content. And that means that then you're ready to move on. It just felt right. So yes, I am definitely satisfied with my career.
Moving on sometimes is tough because you've been a professional and you're in your mid to late 30s. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, I've got to start something new. Fortunately, you were involved, you had a profession waiting for you. So did you feel more comfortable the fact that you had your education and were ready to move to another phase of your life?
Yeah, I think so. Plus, Ben and I, my husband and I, has been talking about it for a couple of years before I eventually retired. Just like put it into word that there will be a time after the sport, and that will be an amazing time too, so that you don't only think about yourself as a triathlete. That is the only identity that you have, because it is a difficult change in your life. And you have seen many people have a very, very tough time when they retire from a professional sport, when that is their life only, right? So yes, I think that, of course, due to my my master degree that I have, a lot of other projects that I had going on. So I was actually excited of starting to use my energy, experience, and knowledge on somewhere else, and also maybe less tired, like physically tired, where you don't have to train 30 hours a week, right? Like you can just go for an hour run and it's all good, right? It's enough.
So when I look at the making the Olympic team in 2012, you had spent a number of years and had you had a bad bike crash. Was that back in 07 when you had that bike crash?
Yeah. My first World Cup in Lisboa, I had a really, really ugly bike crash, and it shook me a lot. I ended at the hospital. It was the first World Cup, and I was just making the front pack on the bike, and then suddenly, woof. And when you're this young, inexperienced girl and just blood coming everywhere, what is this, right? So
yeah,
yes, I had some ugly ones. I had an ugly one as well. And when we just got into the 2012 Olympic qualification in Madrid, a really ugly one where I also came down just before T2. So I was unfortunately involved in a lot of bad luck that put a scar on me, I would say so. I got kind of, I got afraid of it after I got involved in a lot of crashes.
Sure. And I just wonder if the disc injury that seemed to plague you throughout your career, and I'm guessing that back injury probably led to what was going on with your leg getting numb. So do you look back at that and go, you know what, that you were basically compromised after that accident, really for the rest of your career?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I do think back of that. I don't know if it was something that would happen eventually. Like, I don't know if I've not got given the strongest body on the planet, but just a fast body and a really hard will to succeed. But maybe like structural, I'm maybe not the strongest. I don't know. But yes, definitely, my herniated disc has been causing me problems more or less my whole career. It came in waves, and still the day to day I have problems with it. So it's there, and it would always kind of be with me, but I can still be active and love training. And I mean, to achieve what I achieved with a bag like that is pretty good.
It's pretty amazing. And what hit me in the book, and I'm sure it was difficult for you to look back because there were so many highs and lows where you would win a great race and then you'd be injured and then you'd have to build back up. But one of the things that hit me was you were, because of your background, that you understood the body so well, you found professionals to help you out to keep your body in check. And it was fascinating to me that when you traveled, sometimes you'd have a therapist with you. You might have both. You might be figuring out where you're going to live so you could have both those guys available to work on you. That's a major commitment, not just the training, but constantly going through therapy.
Absolutely. Yeah. We always planned it quite thoroughly in terms of my therapist, because we knew that if I was in one piece and if I was healthy, I was racing well. Like I was almost always racing well when I have trained well and I was happy and healthy. So that was basically the only thing we needed to make me stay healthy, right? So I think that we were probably some of the first ones to kind of go the more professional way in terms of saying, okay, this sport, you need to invest to get, reach high levels. You can't just, go as you did in the beginning and take care of everything yourself and carry everything to a race and be completely wasted before you get there. You need to invest in people that's going to help you out, and so that you can focus on training and racing and becoming the best you can be. So I think that we see that more and more today now, that people are investing in those things, and it's great to see the sport is getting more professional. So we definitely included that very early on in my career.
And coming off the Olympics, because that was obviously the goal from a little girl, right? You always wanted to be an Olympic athlete. So 2012, you get 27th at the Olympics, and the thought would be, okay, I had my first Olympic experience. Now I'm going to gear up for 2016 in Rio, and I'm going to go get that podium or that gold medal. But you went a different direction. Was that a hard decision?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I felt like after London Olympics, I wanted to go for Rio. That was kind of like, okay, that's what we're gonna do. But when I got to 13 and I went on a training camp in the US with Joel Filial, that was my coach at that point, it was kind of like being over there in the States, and it was like the sky is the limit. And I started to feel the non-draft scene. What is this? Could I be good at this? You're starting to get, that's exciting. That's interesting. It's something that I don't know about. It's a new territory. I can always, 2013 was a fine year to test things out, because the qualification doesn't start before 14, always 2 years before the Olympics. So I had this 13 year as a test year. And that was just doing Olympic distance non-draft, and then a few half distance or 70.3 non-draft. And I was just winning and winning and winning. Like, from the get-go. It was amazing.
Well, that's where I think we met you in 2014. I mean, you were at the top of the totem pole, right? You had won the Hy-Vee race with $100,000 prize purse in the greatest field. You could look at that field and say, this is at least equivalent to the Olympics, because you have people from different distances. When there's 100,000 for first, everybody's there. And then we met you in Bahrain, and that was another $100,000 prize purse. And it was, you win that. So all of a sudden, I'm guessing the Olympics sort of went in the background, and it was, I'm going to stay with this.
Absolutely, yeah. I felt that I have found the shelf that I should be on. I felt that non-draft racing was good for my physique. That was where I could accelerate. Like also, like we found out that all the accelerations in short distance racing, draft legal, was hurting me a lot, and I would not be able to bounce back that well if you had a lot of acceleration within a race. Whereas like non-draft, you ride steady and hard, and I could ride, just at the red zone for so long, but still run amazingly off the bike. So we really found that this was where I was accelerating. And I love the fact also on half distance that because I was fast, that half distance was starting to become very fast as well. And you could stay fast, right? That us short distance came up to half distance, and then suddenly stuff was happening on the half distance too, which was amazing, right? You had to be a good swimmer to be a part of the race suddenly, right? And back in the days, you did not have to. You could make your way up, and stuff was happening there in 2011, 12, 13, 14, I would say.
That was the time, yeah. Because then we also had that Lifetime Fitness Series throughout the country, which was non-draft Olympic, which is such a good transition for you coming from draft legal Olympic to non-draft. Exactly. And then that was a nice stepping stone to 70.3.
Yeah, exactly. I love those races, and I love the combination to do a non-draft Olympic distance and then a half Ironman distance. It just kept me sharp and fast. And it was like when you got to a half Ironman, it was like you just raced it like an Olympic distance, and you would see what happened. And often it went well. I was very gutsy. I just went for it.
Well, do you think it's tougher now? Because at least there was that transition. We had a series of non-draft Olympic. Now somebody comes off the Olympic, chasing the Olympics, and their only option is to double what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
You think that makes it harder for people?
Yeah, also because it's a different energy system kind of you use when it's non-draft. This is just different than draft, right? So to suddenly go from draft legal Olympic distance to non-draft double distance, it is a big jump. So I do think that you also see that the girls that's trying now, coming from ITU racing, they're trying to get up to half Ironman, and they're doing well on the swim, and they're there. And then halfway through the bike, it's like, ooh, they can't keep that momentum going because the girls are riding hard. If you are a specialist on a half Ironman, you're riding it hard, and then you're also running well off that bike. So you see that now we have the specialist on half Ironman, and I feel like that kind of started to come around 13 and 14, where I was also accelerating. I definitely felt that was where I belonged, and we were getting, specialists on the distance. So yes, absolutely. I think it's harder, and it's such a shame we don't have Lifetime Fitness anymore, or Lifetime series. Oh, it was an amazing series. I loved it.
It really was. And you became we're really good friends with Alicia through that, right? Alicia Kay, you guys were living in Claremont. And so that's the other thing. I think with the Olympic format and the draft legal, I think it's harder to be friends with people because I don't think, because there's so many tactics that go on. I think when you get to 70.3 in Ironman, you can train with people who you're going to race against, because who's ever going to be better on that day is going to be better on that day. And it really shouldn't compromise your ability to have friends.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think for Alicia and I, it was definitely like, I knew that, if I trained with her day in and day out, and I could beat her or she could beat me, I knew that I always got the hardest competition out there, and we would always pick each other up when we were weak, or the opposite way around. And I think it just made us so good. And when, you're standing on the start line, it's to let the best girl win. And after that, you get a hug and you go out for dinner. That was just how it was, really. And it was so simple, and it was just so amazing. So if you are not too proud to help each other out, you can actually lift each other instead of taking each other down. And I think like non-draft racing, if you are open to training with other people, you can really benefit from it a lot yourself. Where I think like ITU racing, they're coming in big groups or big teams coming in, and then I think they're staying together as a country and not open so much out like we are in non-draft. We coming often alone, maybe with our physio and our husband or something like that, and then we're way more open for other people and interacting. And I love that about the sport. Absolutely. Plus, in non-draft racing, we are together with the age groupers, which is so amazing, I think.
Was there one race that you had where you felt, okay, now I belong. I can race with the very best. So maybe you didn't even win, but it was a race that told you I belong and I can race with the very best. And I made the right choice to be a professional triathlete.
I think I will say, like, probably my first 70.3 Ironman 70.3 when I won in Puerto Rico in March of 13. It really showed me that it was the right move for me to go long distance. It was the right move for me to move to the state and leave the Danish Federation. I started really to believe in myself now that we were starting to find the recipe that worked for me. And has always been going my own way. I've always done things differently, but that worked for me and it gave me a lot of confidence. And I think that also showed throughout 13 and 14. And when in Bahrain, I went 3:55. It was such a fantastic day. It was such a rush. I still get a rush every time I see that race because I just had a perfect day, and you don't get many of them in your career.
Absolutely. There was a lot of races that you went into not really knowing if your body was going to make it, right? There was times you felt like you needed to race, but you were dealing with your leg, or you're dealing with back, or you're dealing with calf issue. You had a myriad of issues. Was there a time you surprised yourself where you went into the race going, I don't know if I can finish this one because my body's pretty messed up, and you ended up having a great day?
I had a period of a period out of racing for it was actually in 13, where I came back again to the States, and we just wanted to go over, and I needed to get back racing, and I hadn't really been training hard or whatever. And we went over to the States again just to jump into, it was actually when we had the Revolution 3 series.
Yes, Rev 3, yes.
Yeah, I jumped into a race there and was second in a really good field. That surprised me, that I could actually do that on top of an injury and not much training. And then again, it kind of built on my confidence. Okay, you can kind of race yourself fit now. And then it started to roll again, and I was doing really, really well, and ended my stint of 3 months in the US by winning Miami, 70.3 Miami in 4 hours and 2 or something, really fast.
Yes.
Where I remember that Ben was communicating with Joel Filials, should I just tell her to run a little faster so she gets under 4 hours? And Joel was just communicating back to Ben, no. Just tell her to relax. You don't need to get too eager now.
That is funny.
Yeah.
Your Ironman experience at Arizona, I think that was your debut Ironman. And I don't think you thought you were having a good day, but you set a Danish record. You went 8:55. You're the first woman to go sub 9 for
8:53, I think. What
is it 8:53?
Might be.
Anyways,
Doesn't matter.
8:55:35. Second.
Oh, you have it there. Good. See, Bob, we're getting old.
But getting set, I mean, you were running along thinking you were having a crappy day.
Yeah,
you weren't having a good run, and next thing you know, 8:55. So you surprised yourself that day?
Yeah, I definitely did. I've looked forward to doing an Ironman, but as at that point, I started by being, in the beginning of 17, I went self-coached together with Ben. So when you have to do an Ironman, you're like, okay, you probably need to do everything you can. So I was just doing mileage, and I was doing intensity. I went on a training camp with myself in Mallorca, and absolutely just buried myself. And all that, it's just supposed to be hard. You're supposed to be tired. It's supposed to be hard to walk upstairs, everything. And that was how I thought, right?
Right.
And then I went to the States, and I got bronchitis, of course, in the plane. Of course, you pick up something when you've trained this hard. I kept training, and I went to a doctor in Claremont. She said, oh, you probably should not go and race. I give you this prescription on antibiotics. And I was like, oh, I can't take antibiotics. I'm going to do an Ironman in a week. So I went to Arizona, kind of overcooked, semi-ill, So from the gun went, it was uphill the whole day. It was really like, just tired. You have that feeling of lactic in your whole body that you
Yeah.
just have a certain limit you can go to, and there's just nothing more because you still have so much fatigue you couldn't get rid of. So that I went this fast. For me, first time doing an Ironman, it feels like you're absolutely walking that marathon.
Yeah.
When you're used to running fast, this feels like a slog completely. But so yes, it was definitely a surprise, and it made me hungry. Wow, what can this become? Right? This is, I felt so overcooked, and I raced so well.
Yeah. And then so you came to Kona in 2018 and you were 16th, and it was not the day you wanted, right, for
No.
your one time racing Kona. But what were your just the fact that you were that the Olympic stage is one thing and the Ironman World Championship is our Olympics.
Yeah.
Well, just being in that race, was that still pretty fun?
Ah, it was amazing. I was happy I went. I was so happy we took the decision to go, because when it was that I injured my foot so close to the race, I'm not going. I'm absolutely not going. I'm going to disappoint myself, my sponsors, everyone. But where Ben, he kind of switched my head and said, okay, what do you have to lose? You're a rookie. You will learn so much getting to the big island. He's been there many times
Yeah.
before, racing, and his dad has been racing. He's been there for work. And to get there and experience that too, and being there on the island, I would love to go over again, as a spectator, as a coach. It was amazing. It's such a unique place, really unique place. And I'm so happy I got through that race. It is so important to finish that race, and respect there is around this iconic race is something magical, that is special, very special, regardless of the result.
It was interesting because obviously, as a pro, a lot of pros would be like, well, gosh, I'm not having a good day. I'll just bag it and then I'll go to Arizona. It's coming up in a few, or Florida.
Mm, mm.
I'll save it. And I think there was a point where you were at the top of Palani and you were heading out on the lava fields, and Ben was like, I don't think you were very thinking, why am I even doing this? And Ben was like,
No.
you need to get back here, right? You need to go
Yeah.
out to the energy lab, do that, and come. I need to see you back here.
Yeah.
The teamwork between the two of you was pretty important, because
Yeah. Yeah.
if it was up to you at that point, you might have said, I'm done. And he was like, no, you need to go out and come back. And
Yeah.
you're glad you did.
Absolutely. I promised him I would come back. It was tough. Like, I was running and crying under my glasses at that point. I was really struggling and I was in pain. But I promised him to come back. So I would come back. It was not fast, but I came back.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
So the book, Pursuit of Victory, obviously, it's what I loved about it is it takes the reader deep inside you and the struggles, right? The struggles and the overcoming, and the struggles and the overcoming, the relationships, the homestays, the relationship obviously with Ben and your physios. What do you want the reader to come away with?
I would like that feeling that they can feel it's a super, super honest book. They can, regardless if you're an athlete or not an athlete, that you can feel that if you are facing difficulties in life, which we all do, it's about looking into yourself and finding tools and finding strength to move on. It might take a long time. Also showing that the vulnerability of, like, we might look like, we're on the top of the podium, we are superstars and superhumans, but in deep down we are completely normal. We also struggle with a lot of things, but we get through the other side because we want it, and our why is so deep to get there. My why is so deep, and it stands so clear for me to get to where I want to get. So I just want to show that we all struggle, and I would like people to relate to that struggle we have in life, because life is not easy. And if it was, it wasn't an amazing thing, right? We have challenges and we will get through it.
So the book is out now, and have you been doing some book tours, traveling around, signing books, things like that?
Yeah, we did. It was out about earlier last year.
Uh-huh.
Or last year it came out in Denmark, where I did a bit as we could with COVID.
Right.
We've had to be quite creative as well with online book tours. So now it's coming out internationally. Yeah, probably as we speak, but next week it will come out in Europe and US and UK. So it is big. It's really, really big. It's finally out. It's been a long journey. We have self-published this book, which
Yes.
has been a humongous challenge. But it's coming out now, and that's we're pretty proud about that.
Was it hard for you to look back and especially when you were revisiting those tough times?
I started writing the book straight after I retired, and it was actually a very good time to process the whole career, because it was still standing super clear, and it just gave me so much confidence that it was the right decision, and it just made me get through my career in such a great way. It took me about half a year to write the book, so it was tough in moments, and also sometimes when I was writing I was like, when does this stop? Like, you kind of keep running into bad things. Like, you have to get a string of good things now. Is this really true? But it's completely true, everything I've written down. And so it was hard, but it was an amazing process to do.
I love it. Helle, thanks so much for taking time. It's always a pleasure to see you. I remember the first time we met in Bahrain, and we were like, oh my God, do you think Helle will talk to us? And you were kind enough to spend time talking with us. So I really appreciate that. And if you get to the States, if you ever get here, we'll set up some Tri Club meetings and have you
Yes.
chat about your back, and we'll do an interview and have people pre-buy some books.
Yeah, I would definitely. So whenever the world opens up, I am flying.
I love it. Helle Frederiksen has been our guest. Again, the book is called Pursuit of Victory, available everywhere, Helle. People,
Yep.
Amazon and
Amazon, my website, and my social media accounts as well. So and you can just go in and buy it and enjoy
love
the
it.
reading.
Thank you, Helle. Always a pleasure to chat with you. Again, Breakfast with Bob, not quite Kona edition. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. See ya.